So the title of the talk today is How to Be an A Kicker in Your Own Economy. And you know, I remember one of those days, in the old days, when I would get home, and I'm busy making dinner, right? I'm cooking this in the pan and that in the pot, going crazy busy, and then my son, who was in second grade, he ran in from the family room and he said, "Mom, I have a recital next week, Tuesday at 11 a.m., and I want you to be there." And I'm over here running different practices. I'm getting home, I'm busy making dinner, and then there's a recital in the middle of the morning. That means I'm going to have to take time off work, drive to school, and then drive back to work, and then drive back to school to pick them up. And that's such a disruption in my day. And so I was so frustrated, I called my daughter. She's 4 years older than my son. And I said, "Jennifer, I don't remember taking time off work in the middle of the day to watch your recital." And Jennifer looked at me and she said, "Mom, I did have a recital in second grade. You just weren't there." And that was like a slap in the face, because here I am, I'm thinking I'm doing a good job. I'm running 3 dental offices. You know, I'm busy. I go and I attend all of these things with my kids. You know, there's the kids party, and there's the class meetings, taking them here and there, spending a lot of time with them, but yet I was so busy that I missed one special moment in my children's life. And that's when I made the decision that I'm going to learn how to be super productive. I'm going to learn how to do everything faster, better, so I will never miss another moment in my kids' life again. And so last week, I was very proud to actually hug my daughter on stage at UCLA Royce Hall. She graduated from dental school, UCLA Dental School class of 2023, exactly 30 years after her mom. And a couple weeks before that, 2 weeks before that, I was able to attend my son's graduation. He graduated, the one with the recital. The one that I missed the recital, he graduated as a PharmD at Chapman University. So I think all of us are busy. There's no end to the busyness. But how do we become that ass kicker, right? Where we can be in control of our economy, our office, our lives, enjoy our lives, and still be super productive and successful. Because, as you know, entrepreneurs are the crazy people. You know, they will work 80 hours or 100 hours to avoid working 40 hours. Yeah? Anybody's in that club, right? Because for me, success means peace. It means you know how to manage your stress. It means that you know how to handle all the objections, that you can live for yourself without having to say yes to everybody else. And it means to leverage everything you have, so that way you can replace yourself in the workplace. You can be here, right, and still be successful in your business. So today I'm going to share with you some of those strategies that I use in my past 30 years. Some of them you're going to say, I already know this. But then I want to ask you, are you doing that every day? Because that's the difference. Just because we know something, it doesn't mean we actually do it. Sometimes people tell me they're stressed. I don't know of anybody who have no stress. But where do the stress come from? The stress comes from the frustration, the lack of clarity. You're trying to do so many things, and you're putting on, I'll say, the wrong priorities. Sometimes I have a client who come to me and say, "Okay, I'm going to do all these 10 things. These are most important." And we have to sit down and figure out, of the 10 most important things, which 2 are we going to focus on. Some of us in our business, we go to a seminar, we pick up, we buy a piece of technology, we go back and we want the whole office to go and implement that. And then 2 weeks later, we go to another seminar and then we buy something else and we will go back and we want the whole office to implement that. And then the team and our office get confused. And even the patients or the clients get confused, because you're representing so many things and there's no clear theme of who you are. The lack of leadership can also stress us out. Well, when I went to dental school 30 years ago, I don't remember any training on leadership. I don't know if any of you did have training in leadership. I got a couple of head shaking up here. That would also stress us out because we're not sure what to do. When somebody challenges, whether it's a difficult patient or maybe an uncooperative staff, sometimes we don't know how to deal with them. And unless we learn how to do that, we will always have stress because, people are people. They will always bring their baggage from home to the office, and we have to help deal with that, or we have to make sure that they don't bring that baggage to our office. I like this picture. There's your plan, and there's reality. I was sharing yesterday with some of the speakers. I was making my plan here. I have just moved. I just bought a house, moved, and of course, it flooded. So I was planning to come here, and then I couldn't find my books, and I couldn't find my banner, and I couldn't find anything, right? So I just said, you know what? I'm just going to show up with no banner, only a few books that I could find. Because the plan, if you've been at other events with me, I always come in with a banner, and I got my books, and I got everything figured out. But when your house got flooded, or your garage got flooded 2 days before you leave, your priority is to go buy a new washer, It's not so much on the seminar, right? So I'm going to share some of these with you today, how to be successful. And most of it is going to be high-performance habits. And I will go into a little bit more detail about the high-performance habits, because guess what? It's not going to be another manual. It's not going to be another system, because we all know the manual. We all have the system, but why aren't we doing that? And if you're not doing it, maybe your staff is not doing it. And that's why we just keep going and stalling and going and stalling, even though we have all the toys, we have all the information that we could use in order to become successful. And I'm very proud to say some of these strategies that I'm sharing have been featured on Forbes, Dentistry Today. I've been honored to be on the podcast with Dr. Howard Farran. He's like my hero because he's straight to the point, no sugarcoating. I also share my story and some of these strategies in my books. So if you wanted the books today and I don't have them here, I will mail it to you. And I've been featured on TV. I was able to contribute articles onto multiple magazines, and I also host events. So you're here today because you're ready for a change. Because there's a turning point somewhere, right? Because if we keep doing the same thing, we're going to get the same result. So like I said, I'm going to share with you some of these strategies, and I hope that you just take a look at it and say, okay, maybe I should go and implement these strategies. So I want you to take out your cell phone, and you can text the word START to 55678. And what you're going to get is a link to download this particular guide. And it is a framework that I use in my past 30 years as a dentist. And so you can take a look at that. It's an overview of what I've used, and you can save the link and then look at it later. But it's going to reinforce some of the ideas that I'm talking about today. So it's text the word START to 55678. Let's talk about where you may be right now. I call it your state of the union, right? Are you frustrated? Maybe you feel a little uncertain. Maybe you have some doubts of where you want to go, what you can achieve. Maybe there's some lack of support in your business or your personal life. Maybe you feel like this, that you're experiencing several WTFs an hour, right, in your life. Can you see the slide okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just me.
Huh?
It's just me. I don't have my glasses.
Oh, no, no, no. I'm just asking because there's light here and then it's dark back there. So maybe as you're listening to me, I'm sorry.
Time to wake up.
I know it's time to wake up in California. Maybe today you're going to feel like now is the time to make changes, right? Now's the time to learn something new, implement something new. Because I believe that in order to be successful, in order not to experience those WTFs, we have to be continuously in training and development. So high performance is a sustained level of higher clarity, energy, productivity, courage, influence, and necessity. The key word here is sustain. Because anybody can get themselves to a higher level, but then they don't stay there. They get up there and then they kind of fall back down, and then they try to get up there and then they fall back down. So with high performance, we're talking about sustaining that all the time. So I'm going to touch on some of these. The first one is clarity. Clarity is knowing who you are, knowing what you want. I mentioned earlier there are people who want, these are my 10 priorities. And we have to talk about it and pick 2 that we will implement. So if you have a lot of things that you say, I have to do, I need to accomplish, I would invite you to write down the list and actually just pick 1 or 2 that you know that you need to do by a certain amount of time. Because if you know that, then it's very easy for you to step on the gas and just go full force. Or you should just pause and say, okay, I'm going to drop some of these things. I'm only going to do these other 2 things. When you don't have clarity, that's when you get frustrated. So many of the people that I work with, and even patients when they come in, right? And you present certain treatment plan to them and they say, yeah, I want to do this or I don't want to do that. And they tell you that they have 5 other things that are going on in their life. It's our job to let the patient, to explain to the patient so they understand where their health is as part of the priority. Some people say they weren't sure what was most important until something bad happened, a traumatic event in their life. And I think I'm always pretty clear in what I want in my life. It's always about getting to the next level. When I first came to this country, it was about making money. I need to make money to help the family back home. And as I go along, when that little incident happened with my son where I missed his performance, it's going to be about family, the current family with the little people. So a couple of years ago, I got into a car accident. Somebody decided to make the turn and cut somebody else off and flew right into me. That was an expedition, so I hate expedition, right? That's my van, and this guy, it would just flew into me, and I think a couple more inches, it would probably get this whole half of my body. And it was a wake-up call. And what I encourage you to do is you don't need to be in a car accident, right? To say, this is what's most important to me right now. And for me, when that happened, there was a couple of things. Number one, I was coming back from dropping off my kids. I picked them up every day from school, so I just dropped them off. So luckily, none of them were in the car with me. I was coming back to the office. And I still remember I called the office and I said, hey, we need to reschedule the patient because I got into a car accident. And my staff go, well, when will you be here? Patients are waiting, right? Because you sound okay. And then most of the time, I sound okay. And I think most of the time, you sound okay. You sound okay, but there's a lot of things going on inside. And we need to look at who we are and what we're doing and not just keep going on just because we sound okay. We're going to do a quick exercise. Ready for a quick exercise?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. So I'd like for everybody to just close your eyes. And I want you to think about 3 things, 3 most important things, 3 important qualities, 3 important values to you. That when somebody talks about you, These things should come up. Just 3 things, not 20 things, just 3 things. Everybody got 3 things? Okay? Now I want you to open your eyes and write down those 3 things. And then I'd like you to take out your cell phone. And I want you to go to 9:15, the time. Go to alarm. Go to 9:15 a.m. And I'd like for you to set an alarm there at 9:15. Where it say label, I want you to put those 3 words. The 3 words that you just wrote down. So when you set the alarm at 9:15, it's going to say alarm. So when you go to label, just instead of alarm, I'd like for you to put those words in there. Everybody got that? If you don't, you just need to find a kid to do that for you. Okay? And then you can put it down. We'll come back to it later. Now, when we talk about clarity, a lot of time we also need to talk about the team. I would speak to a business owner, a dentist, a doctor, financial advisor, CPA, and they are very clear in what they want to do. They want to get to $1 million, or $2 million, or have more free time. And then when I go and talk to their team, nobody knows what they're talking about, right? The boss is real clear in what they want to do, and the team has no idea how to do that. So when we talk about clarity, it's not just you, it's the people around you. If you have your spouse, make sure your spouse understands what is your priority. If you have your kids, young or old, let them know a little bit about what your priorities are. My kids, they know family is very important to mom, and we always gather at my cousin's house for Christmas. And I remember one year my cousin went to Vietnam, and my kids said, where are we going for Christmas? And I said, we're going to stay home, because cousin's family went back to Vietnam. But they are so, they understand that it's so important. And we always go to my cousin's house, that for them, if the cousin wasn't there, what do we do, right? And it's always about family first. So make sure you talk to the people who you love, people who surround you. Make sure that they know what your priorities are. We're going to do another exercise. I'd like for you to, on that piece of paper, I'd like for you to write down everything you do on your regular day. So your regular work day, what do you do? For example, treating patients would be one thing. Okay? Don't list every procedure that you do. So treating patients would be one thing. Maybe you answer phones. You answer voicemail and email from your colleagues if you're a specialist. Maybe you meet with the vendors. Okay? So I'd like for you to write down that list. And then what I want you to do is I want you to put a check mark next to the activity that directly produces income. So for the dentist, it would be when you're doing clinical treatment. That would directly produce income. Everybody got a list and a checklist? And a check, yes? Okay, now I want you to circle the activity that you're the only person who could do it. So I think what you're going to realize is you got a whole list, and you have a couple of checks, and then maybe you just have 1 or 2 circles, right? So my question to you is, do you need to do that whole list? Because if you are doing the whole list, my challenge to you is to drop some of those things from that list. And that doesn't mean just don't do it, that means to delegate it, right? To delegate it to somebody else. And the higher challenge is, how do we get rid of that circle? How can we not be the only person who can do that in the business? So for me, I did that several years ago, and I don't have any circle because I run a group practice. So I have dentists who can replace me. So think about it like that, because that's how you're going to leverage time and people to run a business where you don't have to be there. Now, if you want to be there, there's nothing wrong with that. This is just when you look at prioritizing, look at it in this, in this way, because some people have a big list and they try to get the list smaller. I want you to look at how it directly relates to profitability in your business, and also how you don't have to be in the business if you choose to. And then I'd like for you to just jot down one thing right now. One thing when you just did that list. What is the one thing that you need to focus on right now in order to improve your business? Would anybody like to share the one thing? Yes?
Well, for me, new students for the student.
Okay.
That's the one thing.
Okay, getting more customers, right, or clients. That's the one thing. One of my clients bought a practice from an older doctor, and she said, "Oh yeah, I'm going to do an open house, and just bring everybody in," which is something that a lot of people do, right? You buy a new business, and you do an open house, and you get the people to come in and see you. And when I sit down with her, I said, okay, I think there's more than just an open house. There's a framework, there's a list of things that you could do to make sure that that transition is easier and more successful. So here's our list. We can send out a letter. We send out a flyer. We can do a press release to let people know that, this doctor is taking over an older practice. Maybe it was a legacy practice, and taking over such a big shoes to fill in. And we talk about that in the press release. Everybody know what a press release is, right? Okay. We would invite people to come to our open house. But guess what? We're not going to invite everybody. We're going to invite the people who are the influencers in that practice. The people who talk a lot, right? So they can go out there and talk about you to the community. The people who have been there for a long time and love the culture of your practice. Not just the doctor, but the culture as a whole. And when we ask patients to come, we also ask them to bring a friend. So when we're talking about getting more customers, more patients, more clients, when you have somebody come in and you ask them to invite a friend, all of a sudden, one become two, right? And then two become four. We share all the memories of the previous doctor. When you take over a business, honor the things that they have accomplished. Even though everybody want to say, okay, I'm new, I'm better, honor the memories of the person who last owned that business. Always speaks very highly of you, because you value the loyalty, you value the legacy of the previous person. The power of association. Have somebody else talk about you. So if you come into the new practice or new business, not just the previous person the previous owner talk about you highly, maybe you can get other people to talk about you. And celebrate. Along the line of sharing the old memories, share videos, share stories, share photos. Anybody in here do newsletter? Yeah? Okay, when you do newsletter, I love newsletter because you can put whatever you want in there, right? And it's your newsletter, so you don't follow any rule. Well, you follow HIPAA, but other than that, you can share whatever you want. When I do my newsletter, I would share that I'm coming here as, to do an event. or maybe I'm attending an event, or maybe I get knighted, or maybe I have this new client and she shared this story. So you can put whatever you want in the newsletter, and that would give personality, let people understand who you are, and I encourage everybody to do that. Let's talk about energy. How many of you here know that you need to sleep more? Okay, 3 people. How many people know that you need to drink more water? Okay, so I'm going to drink my water. I hope you have your water. How many people know that you need to sleep more? You need to exercise. Yeah? That table is good? Okay. So, let's get up and exercise. Smile. How many people here know a cranky dentist? Yeah? Or maybe you are the cranky dentist. Or maybe you sit next to a cranky dentist. Right? So now everybody's like smiling. Okay? But the smile does so much for the business. When people come into our business and they see us smile, and I don't care if you have a storefront, brick and mortar, or you have a virtual business. When people see you smile more, they just feel more comfortable with you. I just bought a practice in Huntington Beach. I've been in there like a little bit more than a month, about 10 days, because I'm only in there 2 days for the transition. And patient left, and then the staff would tell me, oh, that patient came in and she didn't know there was a change in the practice and blah, blah, blah. And she said she's very nervous. And I said, well, but we were laughing in the operatory. And the staff said, yeah, I didn't even tell you that that's what she said. But my way of practicing is I'm going to make somebody laugh, right? So if I have let's say 10 to 15 patient schedule, my goal is to make everybody laugh. And if that's my goal, I may get 6 or 7 of them laugh. And that's still better is than not getting anybody laughing, right? And so when you do that, you go to an event, you're on stage, you're speaking, you go to a PTA meeting, you treat your patient, just make sure that's the goal. The goal is to make somebody laugh. And they can laugh even before they see you. When my patients come into the practice, they see this little jar and say, Ashley's a problem patient, right? And some people even open it up and take a look to see what's inside. And I say, one of these days, I'm going to put some sand in there or some paper ashes in there just to freak people out. But these are little things, right? These are little things that let people know that you're different. And that's what I like for you to think about. We can all have all of our diplomas, all of our certificates on the wall. So my wall is the same as you, if we all go and get all the certificates. But do you have ashes of problem patients on your on your counter, right? I love this little card here. I got this card from my son Austin many years ago. And it said, Dear Mom, this coupon is good for one thorough answer to any question you have about technology without me losing my patience. That was my Mother's Day card, right? So you can kind of tell how good I am with technology. People complain about stress. People complain about their energy down. What they don't realize is they carry baggages, right? They carry the past stories, what others said about them. The past divorce. The past fallout with the parent. The last time they lost, a championship in high school. They bring all of those things with them all the time. And then they complain that they don't have enough energy, that they feel down. Well, I want you to remember that you are special, that you've gone through a lot, that you can do whatever you want. Don't do anything illegal. But you can do whatever you want if you put your mind to it. And when we talk about having clarity, if we're very clear in who we are and what's most important to us, then it's easy to achieve what we want to do. How many people have seen this at the airport? Yeah. Right? You got bunch of cell phone charging, trying to make sure that the phone is alive. I remember one time I took a screenshot of my phone, and I posted, well, a screenshot of whatever the picture was on my phone, and I posted online. And the comments I got, and my phone was very low in battery, it has that little red line. And I got a bunch of comments that say, charge your phone, charge your phone, charge your phone, charge your phone. And people totally miss why I was posting, because they are so tuned in to the phone has to have battery. So I want you to think, when was the last time that you spent time recharging yourself? When was the last time that you just take time off for yourself? I talked about this at my last seminar, and what I did is I like for everybody to go to your calendar right now. We have, 6 months left in the year? I want you to just pick one day, any day, I don't care which day it is. Just pick one day and just put that that's the day, your day off. And I mean your day off, right? Just for you. I had somebody last time say, well, I already booked my vacation. And I said, are you booking the vacation with the whole family? Yes. No, that's not what I meant. I want just you and your day off, okay? One day. Just pick a day. Because if you don't have that day, you don't write it down, it will never happen. So I'd like for you to write that down, okay? Pick one day. Talk a little bit about courage. Courage is taking the action even when there's fear, even when you feel uncomfortable. And I'm not talking about running into a building, rescuing somebody. I'm talking about there's a patient fuming in the front. Are you going to go out there and deal with them? Because at the beginning of my practice, I'll send out the manager. Hey, go talk to her. She wants her money back. Go talk to her. Or she's unhappy about something. And I didn't want to deal with that. Because it's difficult. It takes courage to deal with something like that. Maybe you have a difficult decision to make. Like I had a difficult decision to move after 20 years, selling my practice for 25 years. I mean, I bought a new one to replace that, but those decisions are hard. I did a video. I haven't posted the video. I did a video in my practice saying goodbye. I haven't posted it. Because it's hard, right? And I'm not saying you have to push through everything, but to be willing to do that, that's already step number one. And sometimes you can't do it yourself. You need somebody to help you. And I learned that when I started my journey being a coach. And then along that line, I learned that I have to be a speaker. How am I doing so far? Okay. So I wrote my first 2 books. The first one is called From Refugee to Renaissance Woman, and just to share my life story. And the second one is called Commit to Embracing Your Big Life. And I was told that I need to be a speaker. And I said, no way in heck. I treat patients. I sit in front of them. They listen to me pretty well, especially when I have a syringe in my hand. But other than that, I am not a speaker. But I was told, no, you need to be a speaker. So my very first speaking engagement was in a group of 20 people. One of my friends from CEO Space put on an event, and she said, hey, you got a great story. Come speak to the group. You have 10 minutes. So I went there and I spoke for 10 minutes, and I'm sweating, And I got off stage. And I mean, people love the story. I didn't love the experience. So my mentor at that time, Sharon Lecter, she called. She said, how'd you do? Because I told her what time I was speaking, so of course she called me right after. How'd you do? And I said, who in the world would want to be speaking? This is crazy. This is stressful. Blah, 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 blah. Then another friend messaged me and said, hey, TEDx in Walnut is looking for a speaker. And I put your name in. I said, okay. So I wrote up a speech. I got it edited by my mentor, and I memorized the speech. Because with TEDx, you're standing in a red circle, right? So you don't need to move anywhere. You just stand there. So I memorized my speech, and I tried to deliver it to a group. This is my second time doing public speaking. It's a mastermind group. I was actually on at the end of the day, so there may be 5 or 6 people listening to me. And when I was done, they said, when did you say you're going to do this? That you got to go home and prepare some more. And I said, okay. So I went home and I said, okay, I got to prepare some more. So I put my 2 boys on the bed, in the bedroom, and I'm standing right here, and I say, I'm going to deliver a speech to you 2. And then when I'm done, you are going to give me feedback. So I'm standing there, I'm talking to the boys. And when I was done, the boys, they were in elementary and middle school. I said, Mom, your enunciation is wrong, your pronunciation is wrong, I don't know, they have this whole list, right? And I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, these people are not helpful. So I said, I need to find another audience, right? Because what do you do when you're speaking to an audience? They don't seem to like you, right? So let's find another audience instead of improving. So I found my perfect audience because they just sitting there, they just listening to me, smile, very encouraging. So I worked through my fear, and then I went and spoke at TEDx. The day I spoke, the boys were there, and then at the end of my speech, they came up, but they didn't have any criticism. They just had tears in their eyes. So the reason I'm sharing that with you is because a lot of us, we are speakers. Some of us may want to speak, like maybe want to speak more, or whatever it is that you want to do more, that you haven't been doing, is your first time, is your second time. I want you to think about my story, right? I'm not saying to practice in front of stuffed animal. That's, you choose. But we all start somewhere, and we have to push through fear in order to achieve what we want. Because from that TEDx stage, I went and spoke in India, I spoke in Australia, and what was that? That was your alarm. There you go. That was the only alarm, because the other people have their phone silent, right? Yeah. Why don't you take a look at your phone, everybody, and look at those 3 words? Does that make you feel good? Yeah? I encourage you to leave those 3 words in there and just put it randomly during the day. And when that phone vibrates, what you're going to do is you have to go and turn it off. Right? And then when you turn it off, when you go turn it off, you're going to look at those 3 words. And it's going to remind you to be who you are, who you're supposed to be, those best values that you say that you want to achieve. So I want you to write down just one thing about courage that you want to do in the next 30 days. Anything you want, but it's something that will take courage. Would anybody want to share one thing?
Well, I had already written to the Minister of Health in Fiji, and I need to follow up on that because their ability to for midwives and midwives. So that's courageous to continue going into that arena. So.
Yes, and it's courageous to write it the first time.
Yes, it was.
Right? But when you follow up, it's when you really want the answer, right? The first time you send it, you cross your finger, maybe they'll answer, maybe they don't answer, well, maybe I don't have to follow up. But when you follow up, you really want to know, is it a yes or a no, right? Yes. Yes?
Yeah, actually mine was the same, following up on people who haven't responded. And we have all these stories to tell ourselves.
Yes.
And that, you're right, that takes extra courage, because now you've already made assumptions about how they're receiving you.
And it could be totally off.
Could be, it's always totally off. But that takes courage to reach out again.
Yes, absolutely. So I want you to give yourself permission to fail, permission to mess up. Trust me, there are times when, I think my very first event, I was testing, the AV and everything. Everything works great. And as soon as everybody sat up and I was supposed to start, nothing works. And of course, it's the very first event, right? So you're there. And I remember it's actually the clicker also. So that's why I have 3 clickers with me. But I remember I'm up there and and then somebody in the audience actually had a clicker. Like today, I was bugging Dr. Peck. Dr. Peck, let me borrow your clicker. Because last night we tested. I have a perfect clicker. Real nice, sleek one. And then this morning I can't find the little adapter. So I got my backup clicker. Because sometimes things happen for a reason. It's always the right people are in the right room. And that's what I encourage you to do. Things don't go well, just remember that it happened for a reason, and sometimes it will take courage for you to overcome whatever it is. Anybody in here ever think about writing a book? Or writing a chapter or something? Yeah. Well, that always takes courage, and if you like to do that, I invite you to talk to me. I've written 4 or 5 books myself and co-author with other books, and a total of 14 or 15, right? So I can help you with that. One of the doctors I work with, she travels to teach emergency medicine, and she also does her own thing, but that does dentistry, but she also teaches emergency medicine. And when I started working with her, her thing was, I want to raise my fees. How many people ever have that thought? I want to raise my fees, right? And so we worked through that very short amount of time. She doubled that business because she raised her fees. Sounds very simple, but how come we don't do it sometimes? Let's talk about productivity. This is a very big part of high performance. Productivity is all about time, how you use your time. This is one of my favorite quote here from Harvey Mackay. Do you know Harvey Mackay? Okay, Harvey Mackay is a I think one of his famous book is the Blue Ocean. So if you hear people say blue ocean marketing, that means that you're going into a market where you're going to dominate. There's less competition. But sometimes you have to make it into your blue market by positioning yourself a particular way. So you say time is free, but it's priceless. You can't own it, but you can use it. You can't keep it, but you can spend it. And once you've lost it, you will never get it back. And I'd like for you to take a picture of this slide, please. This is about cutting down 5 minutes every hour. Because if you do that, assuming you work 8 hours a day and 40 hours a week, that would mean that you're saving 40 minutes a day. If you save 5 minutes every hour, you work 8 hours, 40 minutes a day, 200 minutes a week, 9,600 minutes a year, and that's a total of 160 hours a year. And that would be equivalent to 4 weeks, 4 working weeks that you're going to get back if you save 5 minutes per hour. So the next time you tell yourself, okay, I need to stop digging around, well, stop digging around. Because that 5 minutes, each of the 5 minutes add up, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get a whole month back. How many people suffer from the weapon of mass distraction? Some of you laugh. Are you a victim? How many people go online and then end up on Amazon? Right? That's what I do. I end up on Amazon, or I end up on some vacation, blue ocean kind of website because I'm thinking about where I'm going to go next, where I want to host a retreat, that kind of a thing. Well, if we were to go online and look up something and research something, what I like to do is give yourself a time, like I'm going to spend 5 minutes looking this up. I'm going to spend 10 minutes looking this up. Because what's on your calendar and what's on your to-do list need to reflect productivity. And we talk about that. You made a list, and you put the check mark, and you made a circle, okay? We don't need the 20-item to-do list. We just need that circle, which is an activity that deliver value, increase profitability, and only you could do. So you should only focus on that. How about a not to-do list? Okay, something that you should not do, like picking up your friend from the airport. Anybody still doing that? No? Yeah, last time I told people, like, just tell them to get an Uber. Then I got totally criticized. You tell your friend to go get an Uber? And I said, yep. Just tell them to go get an Uber. You don't need to pick them up. How about a to-be list? Right? To be generous. This is me and the kids and my staff. We did a mission in Costa Rica many years ago, and all the kids flock around me because we brought some glow-in-the-dark soccer balls. I think all of those kids showed up for 2 soccer balls. How about be ambitious? Being productive, I mentioned earlier, is using everything so that way you can do things faster. So leveraging technology, Viome is a company that I work with, and the newest product that they come out is a salivary test that predict oral cancer to, I think, 95% specificity. So you can talk to me, because if you're the dentist in the office, this is something that you can do to help, help the patients, because obviously we want to get rid of oral cancer. Well, we need to diagnose it first, and then we can get rid of it. And this is something that you add value to patients. I have a patient that I referred to a specialist, and he ended up actually having cancer in the mouth. And every single time he comes in, for the past 25 years, he would thank me for saving his life. So it could be something very simple. Like in his particular case, I just refer him to the specialist. Back then, there was no test. It was looking in the mouth and seeing something is different, and then I refer him to a specialist. But now, when we have technology that can help us do that to serve our patients better, that's what I would encourage you to do. Reveal is an app that you can use to show the patient your smile, the patient's smile right live in their mouth. So it's not a take a picture and create a simulation. This is right in the patient's mouth. So for example, you can see on the picture there, the gentleman where he's smiling, that's the teeth. That's the simulation, but it's right in his mouth. So we can see how it actually goes with his mouth. This is another patient. You can see that he's missing some teeth on the picture on the right, and also he has a gap there. And this is how his mouth could look on the right side when there's no gaps in the mouth. So when you can show people that, it just speeds up the process for them to look at and say yes, right? Similar to when you go buy a car, why do they tell you to go drive the car, right? If you get into that car, you bought the car. You pretty much are going to buy the car, right? So this is similar, but this is in the mouth, which is the space where we work. And who knows purr or use purr? Anybody? No? Purr is a system, an AI, using AI, and it will actually help you read the x-rays and tell you where the cavities are using AI, okay? So for me, when I bought the new practice, I'm thinking I can put the associates in there. They can do the diagnosis, and Purr position themselves as a second opinion. So this is the second opinion. If you miss anything, it's gonna tell you to go back and double check. When we talk about productivity, it's not about the income level. You can increase your income if you are more productive. My Dr. Katie is one of my first clients, and when we started working together, she has a $1 million practice, and her goal was to pick up golf again and to go pick up her kid on time. Those were the goals. But we have a $1 million practice. And I worked with her, and the very first day after our first call, the next day she went to pick up her kid first of all the class. She said my kid was in shock because he's usually the last one that get picked up. And then she picked up golf again, and not just her and her husband, made the kid go play golf too. I think yesterday he won a golf tournament. He just turned 7. So remember we talk about clarity, what's most important to us? That's what's most important to her. And it's not like she doesn't know, I gotta go pick up my kid on time. She knows that, but how come she doesn't do it? So sometimes it's a conversation that we have with ourselves, or maybe with a coach or a mentor, that get us to actually take action and do the next step. Another big part of high performance is influence. When I'm talking about influence, I'm talking about being the role model. I want you to just close your eye for a moment, and I want you to think, who is your role model, or who is your role model? And then I want you to think, who do you want to be a role model for? Okay, you can open your eyes. Because sometimes what people say is, I want to be a role model for my kid. But I want you to think a little bit bigger. Because we are all in a position as influencer or advisor, people look up to us, right? Maybe you just want to be a role model for your kid, but there's all your Facebook followers who are looking at you. Or Carol is going to Fiji. There are people in Fiji looking up at you, right? So you're not just a role model at home, you're a role model abroad. With social media, the playfield is level, right? Anybody can be on Facebook, anybody can be on LinkedIn. So if you're talking about, hey, I want to increase my influence, those are the things that you can leverage to create that influence. What are you putting out there to let people know that they can seek you up for advice, right? That you can share certain things. Dr. Letran has a podcast. You're a role model. Whatever you say, your listeners are probably picking that up, and they're following, even without you knowing, right? So I'm very blessed to actually be working with Dan Kennedy right now as a private client. He's a marketer. Okay, he writes copy and he coaches business owners. And I wrote a chapter in the book that he put out last year. And my chapter title is How to Keep a Patient for 24 Years. Actually, this was 2 years ago. So last year was How to Keep a Patient for 25 years. Mm-hmm. Right? Every year I change the number. And I just talk about how to have people follow you, listen to you, and stay with you, which is very important. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. One of the things I love back in Southern California is people would walk up to me and say, I love to see how you grow. Not physically, because still the same, but they've watched that journey, right? And so when you have people watch the journey, or if you have clients or patients who stay with you, you see how they change and how they get better, and make sure you talk to them about that journey. But that's how they stay with you. And most of the time, it may not be your work. Because when they come to see you, they already assume that you're competent, right? What they like about you is they like you as a person, they like the culture, your office, the people who work around you because they deliver the same value. I think I have a couple of, I call greatest compliments, right, from the patients. One is, patient is snoring in the chair. That's a great compliment. That means that they're comfortable. Another one is patient coming into the room, and I come in for a checkup, and the person look at me and say, "Who are you?" Because they haven't seen me. The person hasn't seen me because I haven't been in the office. But they still come anyway because they like the value that the office delivers. And I think when we do movie night, there's patients who come up to me all the time, and we have a little check-in table, and they will say, "Thank you so much for inviting us." And then when the patient walked away, I would ask my staff, "Who's that?" Because I don't know who it is. There's so many people. But again, they come because of the value that we deliver. So when you go back to your work, I want you to think about that. Who are you, what you represent, what does your company represent? Because that will just draw in more customers, patients, clients. I got knighted. And don't ask me the name of the whole thing because it's very long. But I got knighted because I was recognized for philanthropy work in the healthcare field. So I think it speaks a lot because, again, it has nothing to do with my credentials. It has nothing to do with how good I am with the patients. It's just about who I am. And when you get recognized for those kind of things, guess what? Your competitors, they can't compete with you. Because it's not something about work, right? It's not about having the biggest office. I understand Google reviews and all that, those are great too. But who you are as a person and what you're being known for, I think those go a long way. One of my clients is an endodontist specialist, and she told me she wants to be known as the go-to person in her community. And I said, okay, who likes root canals? Right? But I explained to her, your customers are the general dentists. It's not the patients. It's the people who refer more patients to you. So that's the person that you need to build the trust and the community with. So she launched her study club right during COVID. So the very first meeting, well, because we were planning the study club and then COVID hit, so the first meeting was virtual. And then after that, she keep on doing meetings. This is actually her office. She does a meeting in her office. I help her get sponsored from a laser company. So they come and they attend the meeting and they sponsor the meeting. Then of course she becomes a speaker and she writes books. She hasn't written articles yet, but these are the ways to distinguish herself with other specialists within her community, within the business. So that's what I would encourage you to think. What can you do to create this influence and be different from the rest of the people in the community? Questions? Yes?
Was there ever a time when you doubted yourself?
We do that in private. No, I'm just kidding. I think all the time. I think all the time, especially when you always try something new, and there's always something that you don't know. Let's talk about this event, right? It's in a city that I haven't done anything here in the city. I came here one time to attend a seminar, but otherwise I don't know Chicago, right? So what did I do? I reached out to my friends who live here and say, hey, we're doing a seminar. You want to invite your friends? Because I don't know anybody here, right? And whether people show up or not, right? Or whether people respond to your invitation, you always doubt, and then you're thinking, maybe I'm not good enough. I don't do that anymore, as far as am I good enough? Because I already know this is me. This is 100% of me, and that's good enough for me. If that's not good enough for you, that's your problem, right? But yes, when we always set an expectation. Like we say, okay, I want to try this. Let's say I want to apply to speak at certain meetings, right? And then they reject. Like Chris Salem is one of my speaker coach, and they go, yeah, send the application to all these places, and I assure you, it's going to be rejected, you know, because it's going to be your first time trying to get on the bigger stages. Like we applied to like a physician conference, right? And the physician conference talk about stress. So I talk about stress. I talk about these kind of strategies to control stress, but I'm not an MD. So again, going back to having a mentor, right? He already told me, you're going to be rejected, don't worry. But you're going to be in the system. Then next year, you apply again, right? But if I start saying, okay, I applied to 20 places and 21 places rejected me, that's going to be hard. But guess what? When I first started as a speaker, this is what I learned from one of my coach, is, you know, have your own stage,
Yeah, absolutely.
right? And it's a heck of a lot of work. I've been very blessed. Usually for an event, the sponsors will help sponsor the event, so I'm not spending money on the event, right? But other than that, you know, if I have my own stage, I can do whatever I want most of the time. I can control the temperature. That's one of my favorite, right? Because how many times do you go to an event and it's too hot or too cold? And then at my event, people will just come out and say, Emily, it's too hot. So then I just say to the house, can you turn it down? And then, Emily, it's too cold. Can you turn it up? These things, I like the little control part. But when you have your own stage, then it's right there. You already position yourself as an influencer. Whether or not you are one and you believe in that, that's on you. Because you put on an event and people show up, right? Because they trust you. And you don't want to violate that trust. But if you keep on, you know, wanting to get to the next stage, I think every time you do that, you're going to doubt yourself.